Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. Today on Save It for Parts Reviews, we have the Otofix, or Otofix D1. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce that. I assume it's Otto, but it's spelled O-T-O. So this is the D1 Lite Intelligent Automotive Diagnostic Tool. It's essentially an OBDII code reader along with this ruggedized self-contained tablet, and it comes in an all-in-one plastic case with a few extra accessories. We have the tablet, we have the actual reader, which I assume uses Bluetooth. We've got a charger. We have a USB-C hub and Ethernet adapter, a charge cable, and then our little tablet. This thing is actually pretty cool. It's not just a generic Android tablet, it's actually branded Otofix. It's got this very nice rubberized case all the way around it, so pretty handy for use in a garage or out in your driveway. It has rubber port protectors all the way around to keep liquids and whatnot out of there. We've got a little SD card slot. We have multiple USB-C outputs, so it looks like you can charge it and connect it to an external device simultaneously. And then we've got a couple little manual and reference cards here. Now, I've played with cheap Bluetooth code readers similar size to this before that just link to your phone. I have to say, it's kind of cool to have an all-in-one unit that's dedicated to just your vehicle. That way you don't have to drag your phone underneath the car with you or out to the garage if you don't want to wreck it. This seems to be a little more suited for outdoor work, and if you run some kind of automotive business, I could see how it would be handy to have a dedicated ruggedized shop unit like this. This is a sponsored video with a product that was sent to me for review, but as usual, I try to be very fair and honest. If I like this product, I'll let you know about it, and if I don't like it, you'll also hear about it. One small issue I have with this set is that the latches on the case seem a little weak. I think they'd hold up just fine for casual use in your home, but if you were using this in a garage and especially a busy shop, I think those latches would break pretty quickly. Aside from the latches, the case itself seems reasonably rugged and secure. It seems like it would offer reasonable protection to all the devices in here for being thrown around a garage, stuffed into the corner of a workshop, etc. Now that we've charged up both the tablet and the little Bluetooth sender, let's fire them up and see what they do. A cool thing I noticed with the Bluetooth interface is that it has a built-in flashlight. This could be really helpful when you're hunting for that elusive OBD port under your dashboard and you can't really see where you're fumbling around down there. Having a built-in flashlight is really a thoughtful addition to this unit. So the tablet itself seems to run on Android, but it has kind of this customized interface and custom firmware from Otofix. When we fire the thing up, we get some car-related apps on a nice big, very readable dashboard. And then we have some of the regular Android apps down here. We have regular old Chrome. Now it wants me to connect to the internet right away, so we'll have to find the settings for Wi-Fi. And again, underneath the slick user interface, most of this is just standard Android. Now that we're connected to the internet, it does want me to provide a user ID and password. So we can either go over to the company website and set those up if we don't have one, or we can create one right here on the tablet. After we signed up, it wanted the device serial number, which was automatically populated into that, so it looks like we're all set there. Let's take this out to the car and see what we can do. So this is where the little flashlight could come in handy. I can see fine right now, but if I was crawling around here in the dark, if this OBD port was somewhere harder to get to, then yeah, having a little light would really help. It's still always kind of inconvenient to get to these things, but mine is right here. I'm gonna turn the car over to accessory. Let's start with the first option on here, Diagnostics. Well, the tablet has actually already talked to the car computer and has pulled out the make and the VIN. That's definitely an improvement over some other little apps that I've used for Bluetooth OBD readers. Usually they know nothing about the car and they're not very smart. This thing already knows what it's working with, which is really cool. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be able to see this screen and the glare from outside on the camera. It's perfectly readable to me. It looks just fine outside, but it's always hard to film some of these things. And now it's decoding the VIN to figure out more information about the car. Again, using the internet connection, I assume, to look up more information in a database. So it already knows the make, model, and model year, which again is really cool. I have had to do almost nothing with this other than push OK a couple times. The main menu is now giving me diagnosis and vehicle profile as options. So I'm going to select that first one. We're going to do auto scan. So we're definitely getting a few fault codes along the way here. I don't have a check engine light showing up on my dashboard, so these are all new to me. So this is taking quite a while to scan through. It's actually scanning a lot of options that my car doesn't have, like radar, power seats, all kinds of stuff that isn't in here. So it seems like it has to check each of those modules to see if it exists or not, and then it just skips over to the next one. But after about 5 minutes of sitting here thinking, it seems like it's gone through all of its scans, and it's offering us a report. I might go back in the house to read that because it's going to be a little bit easier to film the screen on the tablet in there. Here we have a status report of the vehicle. I don't really know what all this means, so we're just going to start scrolling through this and see what it looks like. So it definitely lists some faults and codes on here, but it doesn't tell me directly, at least not on this screen, what those mean. I'm going to keep poking around at this, see if it will give me more information somewhere. There are some options grayed out at the bottom, like search, freeze frame, service manual. I'm not sure why those are grayed out, but we'll keep looking. Looks like we can save this report as a PDF. And it asks to put in the customer's name, license plate number, etc. This is set up again more for a shop to be using than a home user, but could work either way. And it looks like you can add information to the report if you're giving this to a customer or somebody else in your shop. I'll go back out to the car in a moment, but first I'm going to look at some of these other apps and settings and just try to get an idea for what they do. All right, let's look at service. It looks like we can reset the oil light, we can mess with keys, we can change settings for injectors, battery management. My car is a little bit older, so it doesn't need the computer for a lot of these things, but for a newer car, these could be pretty handy to have. You can tell that you have a different tire size, you can mess with the cylinder, the headlamps, the clutch. We looked at settings already, that's essentially the standard Android settings. Data Manager gives us a little bit more of a database that a shop or a repair place would use. You've got a customer database, vehicle history, workshop information. You can save images, save those PDF reports, all kinds of stuff in here. We've got this battery test. We'll probably have to go back out to the car to use that. We've got VCI Manager, and it looks like that's just the manager for that little Bluetooth sender unit. So we could install different units, we could manage them in here. We only have the one, so I probably don't really need this. Update, I assume will give us updated software. And in this Maxi viewer, it looks like this gives us a little more fine-grained detail about sensors and computer options. And let's see, we do actually have a couple other screens here. This looks like just a search screen. And then we've got a couple other options. We have a support link, we have some more Android utilities, remote desktop, so it looks like we could use this from another computer. Maxi tools, it looks like this is more data logging information. And then we have this quick link. I think this is just bookmarks of useful information online, stuff that you might need to know while you're playing around with your car. Pretty standard Android camera, task manager, home screen, all the basic quick links that you'd need down here at the bottom. So we can go back and pull up those historic reports. And this is giving us more details about what those fault codes mean. So that ABS fault is probably because the engine isn't actually turned on. The tire pressure monitor, I'm pretty sure the batteries in my tire pressure gauges are all dead because I've been getting an intermittent light on that, but my pressure's actually fine. Those two at the bottom, I'm not quite sure what they mean. Battery power supply malfunction. I suppose that's also a good excuse to try this battery test mode. And it's telling me software is not installed, so not quite sure what that means. Okay, well, it's still telling me that software is not installed for any of these battery test options, so I guess I just assume those are for some other vehicle that maybe has an in-car entertainment system or Android Auto where you can install something additional on the car itself. We're just going to ignore that for now. So this is kind of cool. Again, it's going to be hard to see with the sun glare, but there's a screen that lets you get live data from the engine computer while it's running. So you can select what data you want to see. Engine load, coolant temperature, engine speed, and manifold pressure, all kinds of different stuff on here. I'm going to select some of these and see what I can do with it. So we can get a live view of the raw data here, or we can look at a live graph of the values. Again, I have to apologize for some of the weird angles here. This is very challenging to film outdoors with sun glare on this little screen. So we looked at the auto scan screen before, and there are quite a few more options under control unit. So if I go in there, and I go into engine control system, this is actually where you get your regular fault codes. So kind of the fault codes that the engine is putting out versus those scan codes that we got earlier. I'm not 100% sure on the difference. Again, I'm not a huge car guy. If we click on live data, this is where you can choose those different engine sensor values and read them out as raw data or as a graph. And then there are all kinds of other things you can poke at in here. I don't know if my car has all these modules or not. And you get various error messages if you try settings that just don't work with your car. So I'd have to say I'm pretty happy with the Otofix or Otofix tablet system here. It was very easy to use. I was very impressed that it just pulled up my car information right away. It was able to pull the VIN number, the make, model, and year right out of the computer, look all that stuff up, and give me the diagnostic tools and stuff relevant to my car. My only complaint about that process is that it took a little bit longer to go through a bunch of options that my car doesn't have. Maybe it can't determine that from the VIN. As far as the unit itself, my only complaint about the hardware, about the construction of this, are those little latches on the case. I think those are going to break right away. They should have used something like metal latches for better lifespan of those. Otherwise, it's a great little set. It seems pretty rugged. The tablet has that rubber all the way around. It comes with a screen protector. In fact, it came with a screen protector for the screen protector, which it took me a minute to figure that out, but eventually when I got all that off, it did look a little bit better in the sunlight. It comes with some great little options like that USB hub and Ethernet adapter, so if for some reason you live in the 90s and don't have Wi-Fi, you can plug it right into wired internet. The flashlight on the Bluetooth sender was a great little touch. I really appreciated that. I can see this unit being extremely useful for a small auto shop, for a repair place that wants to keep track of their customers, wants to keep track of cars, do reports, give information between the technicians that do the initial diagnostics and the mechanics who do the repairs. For a very small shop, you might not need any other computer equipment other than this tablet with its built-in diagnostic and database functions. For the home user like myself, it has a lot more features than I will ever need, and it's pretty useful for just checking out my car, seeing if there are any fault codes. There were some things that were a little confusing, like fault codes. I couldn't really look them up directly from that initial diagnostic screen, but once I went into the vehicle report, it gave more details about those, and I was able to figure out a little bit better of what some of those codes meant. I think this is a cool little toy. I'm going to keep it around. I'm going to use it for my future car repairs. And yeah, I'd like to thank Otofix for sending me this device. I'll make sure to put all the links to the product down in the description below, so you can go check out the Otofix page and pick one of these up for yourself if you want. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.